Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hope your day is finding you well. I'm out here in my garden and I'm getting ready to do my biochar compost on the ground lasagna layer. And I just wanted to show some of the new gardeners a viable method to making a compost pile structure just using simple pallets. It's real easy to do. It's a very simple construction. And so you could get one put together in 10 or 15 minutes. And so I personally opt to use trash cans, like plastic trash cans with some drill holes throughout the bottom and sides. And my pet peeve is just turning compost piles. I absolutely detest turning compost piles. And so I just don't like to do it. It's just something, like pulling weeds. I just don't want to do it. I don't care about, 14-day compost and the heat of a compost pile. None of that matters to me. I just allow the Lord above to break it down by his creation. And so if it takes a year to break down, so be it. When I do compost piles, I don't expect the pile to be done, within a month and a half or 2 months. I always plan out far in advance. And so I always have consecutive piles going. So I always have compost when I need it, just because I'm always doing it. And I just know how quickly, throughout the years, how quickly I go through compost and when I need compost. The biggest times that I use compost are in the spring and summer. And so I always make sure that right about now, I'll have a good pile going, which I've got a full load in one of my trash containers over there. I'm getting mauled by my pit bull here. And so, if you really want to get into the science of browns versus greens, turning your compost, there's a whole scientific method to that, and feel free to experiment. I've been there, I've done that, and to each their own. But this is just a very simple construction of the framework for a compost pile. As you can see behind me, I've got 3 pallets. I just take long zip ties, about a foot long zip tie, and I'll put a couple zip ties on each of the corners, and then I'll zip them together and just make a nice sturdy frame. And then from there you can start layering in all your compost or whatever you plan to compost and break down. So I'm going to be showing you how I go about inoculating bone and wood char via this ground method that a subscriber or two had mentioned to me. And so that's my main purpose of setting this up. It's just to have a frame around the char, and just to have a definitive area that I'm working with, and so that I can pile it up within this area and it's contained. So that is my main reason. I apologize about my dog here, Zeus. He's a good boy. So anyways, I'm gonna step back there. I'm gonna probably speak a little bit louder because I don't have a mic on me. And I'm just gonna show you, I've got it set up, and I'm just gonna zip tie it, and then I'll bring you in and I'll show you, the final construction, so to speak. So hang tight. Okay, well, it's not the prettiest construction, but it's going to work. I tried to make use of some pallets that were damaged. And so one of them, as you're going to see here in just a moment, is probably going to be in need of a screw or two just to hold it in place. But it's not going anywhere. I've used zip ties, and I'll bring you in here and I'll show you exactly how I went about fastening them together. All right, so as you can see here, this board is just, it's still got a lot of play here. So I think I'm just gonna put a screw in here just to hold it together. But I put 3 zip ties together. So I just have one at the top, one at the bottom. And then on this side, it was a little easier. I just used 2 zip ties. And so I'm just holding them together. If you don't have zip ties, you can use rope or string or whatever you want. Or you could just put a screw into them if it's gonna be a more permanent structure. So just play around with it, but this is essentially the construction. You've just got 2 sides and a rear, and then you're just essentially going to be putting the compost right into that general area. If you wanted to put like a chicken fence up in the front so nothing could, you know, get into it, like your chickens or dogs or whatever you want. You know, that's definitely a viable option. Or even putting a 4th pallet in the front would work as well. And then you could also just put something right on top of it, you know, a tarp or whatever, you know, you want to do to finish it off. But this is just a very basic compost structure. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove all the wood mulch at the base and just have nice fresh soil. And then I'll probably put a big, nice, thick layer of compost for the base. And then I'll start layering in the char and the food scraps. If you saw my short, I've got all kinds of food scraps over there. There's my big pile of compost. And then I've got 4 bags of char that I drove over. I'll show you that video here pretty soon. So I've still got a lot more char to crush down. I want to crush down the char into as small of pieces as possible. And so I'll just go ahead and start making it. But this will be the area. As you can see, I've made biochar here in the past. And so these are remnants from probably a couple years ago. But I did a slightly different method. I just basically mixed compost and biochar together, but I really didn't do like a lasagna style or layer it. I just essentially inoculated it with compost in this area, and then I just took from it. But I'm going to do it different. I'm going to really go all out on this one and really make a neat pile. So I'll bring you in for that once I get there. But for all the new gardeners, this is an easy means to make a compost pile. It just took me a few minutes. Let me just show you, if you haven't seen some of my older videos, I'm just going to show you one of my compost piles here, that my preferred method, which is going to be in this trash container right here. And so as you can see, I've got a trash container with a lid. I've drilled holes. There's holes on this side, there's holes on the bottom, there's holes on the other side. So I've got plenty of ways for critters to get in. And as you can see, just look at, can you see those bugs? Look at all those, what are those, earwigs? And so I've got plenty of life in here breaking this stuff down, but this is what I'm going to be using next spring. So I'm going to give it plenty of time. It's probably, well, it's been working this whole season. And so, well, since late spring, I guess, after I used the last bit of it, I started a new one. And so it's been going on, what, like 8 months, I guess, 7 months. So, and then I'll give it, so it's going to be about a year. It takes me about a season to make, you know, something like this. It's slow, but it's easy. And that's all that concerns me. I've got so many chores around here that I don't need to be worrying about a compost pile. So that's just me, but I know you can make some really quick, awesome, hot compost. There's nothing wrong with doing that. It's probably a better means, but for me, I'm just, I don't have the time or the inclination. So anyways, long enough. I just wanted to get that quick video out there. That's where I'm going to be making my char compost inoculation, and I'll make a video on that here soon. So I hope you have a great day today. God bless you. Bye-bye.